Hi, welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. We have a technical difficulty there. If the technicians can fix that, I'll be grateful. Getting some feedback here. So welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. Tonight is Wednesday, January 12th. Wow, the month is flying already. Share the link. Get into your Guyanese groups. You know the drill. Whether it's any and all of your social media platforms, just share this link. Whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Messenger, whether it's in your email, whether it's Twitter, whether it's IG, share this link to all of your relative friends and everybody, all of your contacts on your social media. We have a very important topic tonight. We want to talk about why the PPP government is hiding their, wow, hundreds of people instantly join there. I'm just seeing the control there. Wow. Why is the PPP hiding the fact that they're hiding their governance from the rest of the world? Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? We want to explore that tonight. So share the link, get into all your Guyanese groups and share the link. I'll be back in about 60 seconds. Share the link. All right, keep sharing the link, keep sharing the link, keep sharing this link. So tonight I wanted to talk about the the fact that the PPP wants to shut out everybody, all international dignitaries, everybody else from the outside world, from what is going on in Guyana. They just want to paint a picture of Guyana as this bed of roses, right? They are like Animal Farm. You know that um, that series called Keeping Up Appearances with Mrs. Bouquet from London, that old series. That's the PPP, right? They only want to clean up the front of the house and make it look nice, but behind is a pig pen. That's the PPP. And I want to know why. Why they are going all out of their way to make sure that when dignitaries come to Guyana, they just come straight to them and they leave. Why? Why? Keep sharing the link. Keep sharing this link. This is a very important topic because we see emerging a pattern in Guyana, a pattern of deceit, a mega conspiracy to hide really the truth of what is happening in Guyana. It's a mega conspiracy. So I want you guys to share the link. Share the link. Get into all your Guyanese groups and share the link. Anybody who's doing anything, tell them no, stop. Pay attention to what is happening right now on Conversations with Rickford Burke, because it's very important. It's very important for the future of our country, very important for the survival of Guyana as one country, very important for the existence of the African Guyanese community, very important for the existence of the Amerindian community, and important for the East Indian and other members of the population that don't support the PPP. Look at the PPP strategy. Keep sharing this link. Everybody share this link. Look at their strategy. Their strategy is they're only governing for their own members of their party and members of their support base. Make no mistake, they're not governing for anybody else. They're pursuing the Trump model. If you're not East Indian and extremist, the PPP is not governing for you. Trust me. If you don't believe in ethnic supremacy, they're not governing for you. If you don't condone their racism, they're not governing for you. This is an ethnocracy, an ethnocratic government. And what does it? I want everybody to learn this word. Go on social media and use it. Just post it. The PPP is an ethnocracy. Everyone within the voice, within the hearing of my voice, post this word, ethnocracy. It means a regime that uses government and the resources of the state only for their own ethnic collective, their own ethnic group. That's an ethnocracy. And it so happened that this one is a tyranny. It's a tyranny. And they want to hide the fact that they're racist and tyrannical, dictatorship, authoritarian. And we have to keep exposing it. So keep sharing this link. Everybody jump into your different groups. Keep sharing the link. The word of the hour tonight is ethnocracy. I want everybody listening to learn that word and then share it with others so that it is permanent, it remains indelible. It is permanently etched into the Guyanese psyche and Guyanese polity. Ethnocracy. Ethnocracy. The PPP regime in Guyana is an ethnocracy. Keep sharing the link. When I get back, I'll explain what is an ethnocracy. I'll go step by step and link it to the PPP. And for those of you who know the book Animal Farm, you'll understand what the PPP is. You'll understand what they're doing. It is Animal Farm. Everything is for a show. It's a facade. They're Mrs. Bouquet, keeping up appearances. They want everything to look nice and rosy. But when you open the door and you step in, and they don't see you stepping in, you'll see all their racism. You'll see how they're killing out African Guyanese young people. You'll see the racial injustice. You'll see the corruption. You'll see how crazy they are, going all out to steal the country's money and transfer it to their ethnic supporters and themselves. Share the link. Text me, let me know where you're watching from. Share the link. I'll be back in 60 seconds. All right. So, a few months ago, the president of the American Bar Association, American National Bar Association, visited Guyana. The president, Mr. Judge Moore, Judge Carlos Moore, was invited to Guyana by our finale, the installed president, when he came to address the United Nations session last year. Fair enough. The president of the Bar Association took a team, including some of his foreign policy advisors, advisors on judiciary, and so on, to Guyana. And they're sitting there, and they are only meeting with PPP folk. And we objected, CGID. We said, no, there's no way this could happen. Guyana is not a one-party state. Guyana is not a society in which the PPP dominates everything. So we objected to that. And we arranged, they reached out to us, and we arranged for meetings with different sections of the Guyanese society other than the PPP. One of my lights went out. So the Bar Association team was able to get a good perspective, a balanced view from all sides about what is happening in Guyana. And then the Nigerian, we stepped up this kind of advocacy because we recognized that people were coming to Guyana and only meeting with the PPP. Under the Trump administration, the US Secretary of State came to Guyana and only met with the PPP. That is unacceptable. The president of one of the multilateral financial institutions, I think it's the IDB, went to Guyana, only met with the PPP. What stupidness is that? Under the Granger administration, every visited dignitary that came to Guyana met with Jagdeo. Nobody in the government was concerned about what Jagdeo will tell the people. It's a fairly independent world. It's a democratic society. Everybody has the right to speak. Free speech, freedom of association, and independence. The international community members want to know what are the views of the opposition. So they went and met with the opposition leader. Right? The PPP came in. They cut that out. Everybody that came to Guyana prior to the NBA president did not meet with the opposition. And if they met with anybody from civil society, they were PPP supporters. So what we saw the PPP trying to do is build a one-party state, which will never happen in Guyana, and cultivating members of the international community to support that project of attempting to establish a one-party state. So we put our feet down with regard to the Bar Association president, and as a result of that, he met with the deputy speaker, he met with members of the opposition, members of parliament, that is, from both sides of the coalition, and he met with some Black business people who were being discriminated against. So he was able to get a wide picture of what is happening in Guyana. But then after that, you had the Ghanaian vice president who visited Guyana, and they completely dominated the man. They completely shut the man out, even from the Black community, from Black leaders, Black members of parliament, people of the African diaspora. It is some private citizens who are Ghanaians in Guyana. After they approached him, organized a dinner at the Pegasus. And some members of the society who are African, of African descent, were able to go to that meeting. He did not meet with the opposition. That's unacceptable. When the Ghanaian president went to Guyana under President Granger, he met with the opposition. So what is this thing about the PPP trying to only let international dignitaries meet with PPP people, mostly PPP East Indians, and then they will throw in their cabinet members to make it look like they're a mixed government or balanced government. So this week we had the Commonwealth Secretary General visiting Guyana, Baroness Patricia Scotland. She visited Guyana. And initially she came and she met with government. They didn't even announce that she was coming. And I rather suspect, keep sharing the link, everybody. each one of you share the link. I rather suspect that they did not announce that she was coming because they didn't want the opposition to write to her to let her know what is going on in Guyana, and they didn't want members of parliament demanding to meet with her when she got to Guyana. Now they're claiming that she had planned to meet with the opposition leader and members of parliament from the opposition. I don't know about that. Maybe so, maybe true, maybe not. But we had to make some noise and ask, why is she not meeting and if she planned to meet? And it was after we made that noise, CGID, that same night, the meetings were arranged for the next day. That should not have to be. The opposition is part of the state. In England, under the Commonwealth system, our country falls under the British Commonwealth. But in England, in the United Kingdom, they call the opposition Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition. It is a part of the state. The function or the office of opposition leader is a constitutional office. It's an elected position by the people through their representatives. The opposition leader should have his own office with his own staff. And by the way, stick a pin right there. When the PPP came into power, they cut the budget of the office of opposition leader from what Barry Jagdeo had. They cut it by 70%. This is your money. They cut the resources, the funding, the government funding to the office of the opposition leader by 70%. So why does Barry Jagdeo think that he's some king where he alone must enjoy certain privileges as opposition leader? He alone enjoyed certain privileges as president. He alone is enjoying certain privilege. Well, no, the others had to. But when he was retiring, he changed the law so he could get millions of dollars. Keep sharing the link. In pension. And because he did that, all the other retired presidents now have to be paid millions of dollars. I think it's 14 million every month in pension. Barry Jagdeo changed everything this man touches. He changes the law to benefit himself. And if we don't watch it, he's going to change the law to say he is the monarch of Guyana. And the PPP MPs will go and vote in parliament for that. So the opposition leader's office, the budget, has been cut by 70%. Why are the people of Guyana accepting this nonsense? Why hasn't the government been held to account? This is not the PPP money. This is not the PPP's money. This is not the PPP's country. So why everybody who come to the country has to meet with the PPP alone? And they are so undignified and classless. Did you see him there sitting down with Pompeo, Erfanali, and Jagdeo and the whole lot? You have the American Secretary of State, whose presence nations around the world crave, can only dream of, but deliberately coming to Guyana because as part of their campaign in 2020, their political campaign strategy was to demonstrate that Trump is a strong man by destroying the Venezuelan government. And so Pompeo came to Guyana as part of that initiative. But he sat there, or finale, with the president, and he said Guyana benefited tremendously from the visit of the US Secretary of State. Tremendously. And here are the benefits. They'll be able to buy 2 choppers, get permission to purchase 2 choppers, helicopters. They were able to have joint patrols between US military and Guyana military aimed at narcotics interdictions. And then this is the crown. Irfan Ali said, we were able to get exposure. Exposure. The Secretary of State of the United States, Ali said, came to Guyana to give him and his government exposure. In other words, we just not been know about that before. Exposure. And that's how they speak anyway. Exposure. And then he said, as a result of the visit, he asked the man for his friend in Queens to be able to increase the volume of catfish. Catfish to be exported from Guyana to the United States. Catfish, well, we now know it's a catfish regime. These people ain't got no class. They have no clue about how to run a government. They had no intellect. No intellectual heft whatever. They are bereft of intelligence. And Bar Jackson was sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm the king of government, you know. I'm so bright, I'm an economist. Please, from Patrice Lumumba University? And he's questioning other people's qualifications and experience and ability. The man went to a glorified high school in Russia, a community college. And then he was given an honorary doctorate that anybody could pass and pick up from the side of the road. Got an honorary doctorate. It's like a used car tire. Just throw it on the side of the road, everybody pick it up. He that as me, he got his honorary doctorate, you know. I respect that. But don't act like you got the biggest brains in the world. And the reason why people get away with these things is because we don't challenge it. Everybody stay quiet. We got real economists in Guyana, but they don't challenge the nonsense that the people produce because nobody wants to be targeted. Nobody want a wanted bulletin issued for them. But we sit and we accept the crap and the nonsense from the PPP. Keep sharing the link. Everybody share this link. Keep sharing the link. So, and we know how this international isolation began. Yes, President Granger must be blamed for that. President Granger isolated the PNC, isolated the APNU AFC coalition, isolated the government, his government, from the rest of the world. That's just a fact. It was a strategy rooted in ignorance and a lack of political acumen. We did not communicate to the rest of the world. And the party is paying for it now, the coalition. And those are my views, and I would not change because I believe it to be a fact. And I'm going to do a whole show next week to talk about this because a lot of people get upset with me whenever I criticize President Granger. And I'm going to do a show and explain why. The Guyanese people must know why we were upset about the way he mismanaged our international affairs. I'm pretty sure he had his successes. in domestic policy. I'm not disputing that. But when it comes to international affairs and relationships with the rest of the world, he completely destroyed the party and the coalition's reputation in the international community and around and in the region. But that's not what this show is about. So the party now has to take aggressive measures to build back its international credibility, international reputation, and to re-establish its relationship with political parties, governance, heads of governments, heads of state, and international organizations around the world. It's hard work, it's a fact, but it has to be done. And the PPP knows that. PPP knows that. So their policy is to try to further isolate the opposition and to give the impression that they are so powerful and dominant that they control all of the country. They don't. The PPP has completely divided Guyana into two. PPP and their supporters, Black people, Amerindians, and East Indians who don't support the PPP on the other side. It's a completely different healthcare system for them than for the others. Completely different justice system for them and the others. And anybody who challenges me, I point you to the police that has only arrested Black people who are against the PPP. The police has only arrested politicians and lawyers and former CEOs and only fired Black people, mostly, who are opposed to them. They have fired over 3,000 people. Out of that 3,000 people, 2,999 is Black. GCOM staff, all Black people. And if you doubt that they're racist, they fired the Black CEO, and with all of the accusations about racism, they fired the Black chief elections officer, and they bring an Indian supporter and put it there. And Claudette Singh supported it. Then even say that they objectively look for somebody that cannot be accused of being a racist, that we can't blame them for making a racist an appointment based on race. They don't even care anymore. They hired an East Indian chief elections officer who is a PPP man. Might even qualified for the job. PPP man. In every aspect of the society, they are trying to control and dominate through their own people. And then in some instances, they have some clowns, some house slaves, unintelligent, unknowledgeable house slaves. And they're placing them in these positions with no power to make any decisions or execute any policy. But they're placing them there for cosmetics. Just for optics. Well, you see, we have a Black person here in the police, and we have a Black person there, and we have a Black man here. And so I don't know what Burke and them and they are talking about, because we have the head of the GDF and the head of the judiciary, Jack Dale. But it's fundamentally a racist government. And that's apartheid. A group of people controlling the government only for people that look like them. And anybody else in the government, they are not the power brokers. They are not. You want to show me any, even the Prime Minister, he ain't got no power. And he's the number 2 on the order of precedence in the government, of state. He's the number 2. You'll ever see the Prime Minister hold a press conference on his own or take any initiative on his own as Prime Minister? No. The only real job the Prime Minister has is to sit as chairman of the task force, the COVID task force, where he can get to expound and pamperzette and thing. He has no real responsibility. And he's the Prime Minister. The only reason, you look at it, the only time the Prime Minister is invited into a meeting, they might change it now after I make this observation. The only time the Prime Minister is invited to a meeting with a foreign dignitary, or most of the times, is if that person is black. And they know they might get questions about allegations about racism, so they parade all their black ministers. Oh, this is such a black government. What are you talking about? All the house slaves, they line them up. Prime Minister, Onish Waldron, I see meeting with the Commonwealth Secretary General, the Klung, Wana Jill, the wannabe bishop. You know, bishop. He's a bish. Sharp missing. He's a bish. So the real reason why they don't want foreign dignitaries to meet with the opposition is because they'll be given evidence about racism, evidence about corruption, evidence that they're only giving their own East Indian supporters contracts. All the contracts going to Indian people from the PPP. I wouldn't even mind if it was East Indian people on a balanced basis, some from PPP, some from WPA, some from the Amerindian community, and some of the contractors who don't support the PPP. No. Everybody must be PPP. And don't show me the contract that they give to Statement Construction Company. That's the Hits and Jam guys. That's crumbs. Crumbs. And I've always been, as I have been saying, we need 50% of the contracts going to Afro-Guyanese contractors as well. And don't be like Luncheon and tell me there are no qualified black contractors in the country. Then if that's the case, they ain't got no qualified Indian contractors either. So they don't want the international community to know about that. Because they know with the current ambassadors in Guyana, those ABC ambassadors, they're safe. They're like, oh, please, they don't even care with them black people. No. So we safe with them. They're going to do our thing. They're not going to talk about racism because they come from countries that are racist themselves. So they're like, we got that. They're on our side. They're not going to report the racism. Media, oh, please, those are old guys. We pay them to stay quiet. We pay them to look a blind eye. The ethnic media, Starboard News, racist management, PPP. iNews, PPP, racist. Newsroom, PPP, racist. Newsroom comes straight out of Freedom House. The son of a former PPP minister and the brother of a current PPP minister. On Newsroom. And all the other television stations, plus they control the State Chronicle. Plus they control Guyana Times. And the Guyana Times owner getting rich because most of the pharmaceutical contracts he's getting. You thought David Granger, when he was in power, helped any black people to get any contracts? Or at least had a fair process? He didn't give a damn about that. But the PPP is looking after their people. And when Valda Lawrence spoke about trying to recruit people from her own community to work in the communities, they attacked her and said she racist. But we have to bear in mind what Valda said. Valda said she want a PNC person to employ. she didn't say she would only employ PNC people, but she was saying certain things she wanted to employ, give opportunities to PNC people, because it's PNC people and coalition people put them in government. And governments take care of their constituency. That's what the PPP is doing. But the PPP is not doing it based on politics, they're doing it based on race. Vola did not say she wants a black doctor. She said she wants a PNC doctor to work in a certain area. And the PPP criticized her. And now the PPP taking all the billions of dollars from the treasury and giving it to PPP East Indian supporters. And the country is quiet. All of those people who criticize Vola, they're gone and sleep because they're all in bed with the PPP. Why? The PPP support base, they're diehard, they're radical, they're extreme, and they are always energized because they have leaders who stand up and represent and protect them. You can't find that across the board. Can't find that across the board. Some people might be upset with what I'm saying, but I don't really care. That's my view. The PNC government, as part of the PNC and the coalition government, did not adequately represent their constituency. And when I look at what is happening in Region 4, and when I look at the billions of dollars they spent in the hinterlands, what a missed opportunity. What a missed opportunity. Every village in Region 4 should be outfitted with police stations and wells for pure water supply systems and proper sanitation and proper roads and proper lights. Every village in Region 4. Because Region 4 is the bastion of coalition support. Coalition leadership lacked political acumen. So the PP is only looking after their people, and they don't want the rest of the world to know that. The PPP is not governing for the African Guyanese community. Jump high, jump low, they could parade Onish Waldron at press conferences for her to talk nonsense about who calling who house slave. And in doing so, she is fulfilling the job of a house slave. But it's all animal farm. It is all a big pretense. And they don't want the international community to know that. They don't want the international community to know that the nonsense that they claim was passed in Parliament was not really passed. They don't want the international community to know that they passed a law that gives them permission to steal the country's money, and that there is no provision for accountability in the law, stripping the provisions from the previous bill. They don't want the world to know. I'm not even sure if Guyanese realize that. They have a draft bill coming up that would require a jail sentence, a crime, for anybody who leak information about monies in the oil fund. Bastards. Bastards. So what they did is gutted all the accountability from the Granger bill, Granger administration bill, Natural Resource Fund bill, strip away all the accountability, remove all the people from civil society, from the board to govern the fund, and make it a PPP board only. And then they're about to bring into Parliament a law that says if you leak information about the fund, you'll get jail. Ta 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 ta. Tyrannical, tyranny, dictatorship. And if the international community allowed them to get away with that, Guyana gonna be in trouble. Because Barjagde will be able to build $5 more billion homes on government land, where the government money pay for the infrastructure. And we're gonna have more slums, and the Amerindians will not get any part of the development of the country, enjoy any part of the development. And the Black people know, the people in Buxton and Golden Grove and Fire Ration, everybody's gonna get poorer. In the meantime, the PPP people, oh, they're gonna be building big factories and, you know, skyscrapers like Dubai. They want to build a new city. Let's see who's gonna be in this new city on the Suzdike Highway. They don't want the international community to know that. They don't want the international community to know that they promised the public servants 50%, but when they came into power, they said, no, public service got too much Black people, 7%. Let us take the money and give it to the cane cutters, the sugar workers, $250,000. Every 2 cane cutter got $500,000. Every 2 sugar worker, Guy Shuko, got $500,000. Public servants, $300 or whatever 7% is worth on their salary. That is called the direct transfer of the wealth of the country to the PPP supporters. COVID relief grant, they only mostly give it to their East Indian supporters. Money, every day PPP people fetching suitcases of money in cars with police escorts, going and give that money to their supporters. Flood relief grant, one of their supporters got $1 billion in flood relief. Let them doubt me. $1 billion. Transfer. Some of the others got millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them didn't even have any land to farm. Millions of dollars. What are they doing? They're directly transferring the wealth of Guyana, the people's money, to their East Indian supporters. That's what the PPP is doing. To hell with anybody else. Wait till you find out all the secret deals they're doing to sell out government property through NISIL. In the meantime, the Gaisuko homes, the Guyana Sugar Corporation homes and land that they didn't want, that the previous government, as a result of cabinet directives, sold to African Guyanese remigrants, Black people who decided to invest, Black people from the diaspora, who decided to invest back in Guyana, and went there and purchased properties. The PPP sent them letters to take away every one of them. And they only send letters to African Guyanese. It is the Supreme Court that had to stop them. As a matter of fact, we have a very interesting situation where under the APNU government, the NISIL, through its board of directors, sold a plot of land and property at Peters Hall on the East Bank. The PPP wrote a letter telling the people that the agreement is revoked, null and void, and they must give back the land. And so as to give credibility to their fabricated nonsense about the invalidity of the agreement, they charged the NISIL CEO, Calvin Heath London, with crimes, stating that he was involved in a conspiracy to sell government property under value. And in addition to that, they charged James Bond, who was the attorney who represented the client with the purchaser. And they have a lawyer in NISIL, who was the lawyer for NISIL under the APNU coalition government, APNU-FC coalition government. He was the lawyer that wrote the contract. He was the lawyer that oversaw the transaction and the signing of all the agreements. PPP East Indian lawyer. And when the PPP came into power, that same lawyer turned around and wrote the same people that he sold the land to and told them that the contract that he wrote is not valid and they must give back the property. And that same lawyer allegedly helped the PPP to go to court to argue to the Chief Justice that that contract was null and void. The same contract that he wrote, the same transaction that he oversaw, he presided over it as the attorney for NISIL. How devious these people could be, how evil, how corrupt. They don't want the international community to be given evidence of that. They don't want the international community to be given evidence of their fraudulent ballots that were included in the vote count that gave them the win in the election. They don't want the international community to know that. They don't want the international community to know that ministers of the government is attacking judges who rule against them on the basis of their race, like they did Justice Banks. Not Banks, sorry, Holder. They don't want the international community to know that they're attacking the Chancellor of the Judiciary because she's black and because she's ruling based on the law and the Constitution. And she's not being a house slave serving them. That they put out their minister, Nigel Darmla, to attack them and say they must be fired. They don't want the international community to know that. They don't want the international community to be given evidence that their members are taking bribes all across the government agencies, all over. The one that got caught so far is the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs. They don't want the international community to know that. They don't want the international community to be given evidence that they're stealing the government money and giving it to their supporters through COVID cash grants and flood relief grants and contracts. They don't want the international community to know that. They don't want the international community to know that the Guyana police force is being sent to murder people from Essequibo to East Bank, to East Coast, to Linden, to Georgetown. They don't want the international community to know that they are protecting the killers, supporters of their party, financiers of their party, who killed Isaiah and Joel Henry. They don't want them to know that. They don't want the police, the international community to know that they're denying the family of Kevin Andrews and denying the family of Orin Boston and the Henry family justice. They don't want the international community to know that. They don't want the international community to know that they're putting out warrants for people who criticize them. They don't want the international community to know that they sent the police to attack a mother, a poor, humble mother from Denhamstel last week, who went on Facebook and criticized them. And they're abusing cybercrime laws to suppress dissent. They don't want the international community to know that, because the white representatives of the countries in Guyana don't care about the welfare of Black people. Because in their own country, they discriminate against Blacks. So we have to change the strategy. As Jagdev said, the nature of the struggle got changed. So we now have to take the campaign to the international community. And from now on, every international dignitary that goes to Guyana must meet with the opposition. Must meet with the opposition. And we will make sure, well, now they're going to keep it secret. We'll make sure that we write all of those people before they get to Guyana and send them a brief with empirical evidence about racism and corruption. Corruption in the police force, corruption in the government, racism, corruption in the Guyana prison service, corruption in the Guyana fire service. Everywhere the PPP touches, they install their own people who then embark on a campaign of corruption. I just got a message from somebody saying the government has refused to pay the 2 weeks bonus, Christmas bonus, that public servants are supposed to get to employees at the Palms. But employees at the Palms, don't send a message to me. Write to the US ambassador, write to the international diplomats, write to the press, write to the opposition leader, write to your members of parliament. Stop this nonsense about complaining on a keyboard. It is your right to express yourself. It is your right. So as I wrap up, I want to encourage everybody to stand up and take a stand. It is the right of, I'm getting this light is flashing in front of me. It is the right of your representatives to pursue your interests as officials of the state. That is the right. That is the right. That is the right that every elected representative of the people have. And you must make sure that your elected representative is respected by the international community. So when they come to Guyana, they must meet all sides. As I said, the PPP has divided Guyana. They don't speak for you. They speak for their Catfish supporters, those business people who export catfish, and their ethnic supporters in Berbice and Essequibo. That's who they speak for. They don't speak for you. They don't represent your interest. So make sure that when international dignitaries come to Guyana, they meet with your representatives so that your plight could be told, your story could be told, and your views can be given to members of the international community. Even members of Congress, when they went to Guyana, visited under the APNU coalition regime, they visited Bar Jagdeo. So thank you for watching tonight. I wanted to give you an education about political representation to the international community. It is important. Guyana has now stepped onto the world stage as an oil-producing country. The country is divided. The PPP has divided the country through racism, and they are not representing the interests of African Guyanese and others who don't support them. So the representatives of the people, the representatives of Black people in Guyana, have to support the PPP. And I live in a society where we represent and fight for the empowerment of the people of African descent, because throughout the years we have been taken advantage of, discriminated against, marginalized, and victimized. And we are at a stage now where it got to stop. And we're fighting for equitable governance, equal rights, and racial and other justice. Thank you. Have a very good night. Join me again on Sunday for another edition of Conversation with Rickford Burke. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.